Who's going to be the first person? Lincoln's hat. I like that. Such a respected national treasure such as Lincoln's hat is in my scope. This is very exciting. Claire, how are you? Good to see you, Claire. You're very famous. Claire, I caught a few of your travel scopes not that long ago. I don't know if they're travel for me because it allows me to see another part of the world. It's not really a travel scope from your perspective, I suppose. Yeah. Welcome. Just making some adjustments here. So yeah, I put together a nice little buffet. What does liberal Politico mean? A Politico is somebody who pays attention to politics, somebody who mixes it up in politics. I am not really a Politico. My job is not politics, but that's kind of a pat on the back to call yourself a Politico if you're about to talk politics. Hey, Gio, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Good to see you. Cully, welcome. Everybody's coming in the scope today. Good times. Number 2 superfan. That's right. The other superfan is in here. Cully is in here. It is Gio versus Cully. Oh yeah. It's nice. You're looking at the Mississippi River here. I'll give you a nice little panorama of the view. Here we go. Here comes Jesus. Jesus. Watching football. Yep. This is the Mississippi River on this dark and dreary Minnesota day. Look down at the poor people. Oh, come on. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. Watching football. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Cully. The Viking season depressed me so much that I turned my NFL switch off this year. What's my stance on religion? Just in general, Gio? That's a pretty general question. I haven't been back with you since the election results. Oh, well, Claire. Yes, it took me many months to get back onto Periscope. I got to be honest with you, that election, that was one of the most depressing moments of my political lives. In my political life. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, so I don't blame you for not wanting to go on any political scopes. Yeah, it was so rough. It was so horrible. I mean, basically the way it worked is that the Electoral College had to break for Donald Trump in every single direction, and that's exactly what happened. It was a really tough moment. It was a tough time. But you know what? A few months went by. I stopped feeling sorry for myself, and exactly like you said, Claire, I was at the Women's March yesterday. It's time to fight. It's time to stop feeling sorry for yourself, and it's time to get back and start fighting for what you believe in. And that's exactly what I did yesterday, and that's exactly why I'm starting to get onto scope again. And if not fight for what you believe in, at least make Cully smile. That's my goal, just to make Cully laugh. Which I seem to be successful at that as well, too. I can't imagine what lies ahead, though. Yeah, I mean, there's some really important battles. I mean, to be very blunt, and if there are some Donald Trump supporters out there, I apologize. This is going to be a pretty blunt scope here today. Let's hold. So fighting for what difference does it make? Madonna is going to go to prison soon. Okay, a lot to unpack there. I mean, here's what I can tell you. Donald Trump has shown flashes already. I mean, he's been president for less than 48 hours, and he's already shown flashes of dictatorial behavior. I mean, this is something that's really important to stand up against. I mean, we are talking about shades of fascism. I mean, there's no getting around it. And so that is why, for everybody who opposes Trump, it is time to let yourself be heard. It is time to let yourself, let your opinions be known. I mean, the way in which Donald Trump is cultivating his own reality, the way in which Donald Trump is essentially eschewing any fact-based reality in favor of this virtual world that he's creating himself. I mean, this is something we have to stand up against. It's very, very important. All right, let's find out who hates me and who likes me. He's a disgusting sexist pig. I couldn't agree with you more. For anybody who was at the Women's March yesterday, it was a very inspiring march. I mean, you saw, I mean, for the first time in my lifetime, I love Trump. He's awesome. Cool. Well, I'm glad you're in this scope. I'm glad we can trade ideas here. Here's what I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Never in my lifetime have I seen, on the very same weekend as an inauguration, have I seen the amount of protests that took place nationwide and worldwide with numbers that really were comparable to the inauguration. I mean, you have about 100,000 people in Washington that attended Donald Trump's inauguration, okay? In Minnesota alone, we had about 90,000 people show up to protest Donald Trump. I mean, this is incredible. This is something that is pretty exciting, to be honest with you. The march, Perry was a hoot. I didn't see Perry. 2.5 million marched all over. I mean, yeah, that's something that should be inspiring to people. What I don't understand is if everybody's protesting against this clown. That's a great point. I mean, yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you got to realize there's a very big difference between choosing whether or not you support Donald Trump and choosing whether or not you want to vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Those are very different circumstances. Quite frankly, I'm shocked the man is elected as well too. I mean, there's so much opposition to Donald Trump. Yet there is that question of, well, how did this happen in the first place? How did he get elected? And the fact of the matter is that, like we said, the Electoral College had to break for him in every single direction, and that's what happened. The Electoral College really did work in Donald Trump's favor. Now, I'm not here to rail against the Electoral College. That is neither here nor there. The question is, where do we go from here? And that's what I'm here to talk about. All right, let's. It's called Russia. Yes, that's another big thing. That's a great point. I mean, you really do have to wonder what this election would have looked like if the Podesta emails had not been released, if the DNC emails had not been released. I think, Russia had more to do with this election than Mike Pence. I mean, it's Russia and Donald Trump. That is essentially who is responsible for who we have as president today. All right, let's jump in. Cully's mixing it up. Don't forget social media. Yeah, social media had a big part to do with it, but social media would not have had fodder had they not been produced with information from Russia. Russia provided the content. Social media, they took that content and ran with it. A lull in the conversation. Let's find out what you guys have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, did people see the CIA press conference that he held? If you're outside of the United States like Claire is, I'd be very surprised if you saw it. Cyber warfare, yep, Gio's still here. Good to see you, Gio. What do you think about what the press secretary said yesterday? What in particular? I saw the press secretary said a number of things. There was one thing in particular that he said that was pretty disturbing. He lied to their faces. Yeah, you're right. What the press secretary said yesterday, I want to make sure about the crowds. Just stupid. Yes. Absolutely. What the press secretary said yesterday when he made the comment that more people attended Donald Trump's inauguration than any inauguration that came before. That is what I am talking about when I am saying we are starting to see flashes of dictatorship. We are starting to see flashes of fascism. That is what third world dictators do. They just invent stuff and they expect the press to just do their bidding and report it the way they want you to report it. The idea that more people attended Donald Trump's inauguration, much less the fact that his numbers were actually, in all truth, his numbers were really kind of pathetic. But instead, what he decided to allege was that more people attended Donald Trump's inauguration than any other inauguration. We are setting ourselves up for 4 years of an alternative reality being presented to us. There is no truth. There is no reality. Everybody just sort of picks and chooses what they want to believe and what they don't want to believe. There are no facts. We are in a post-fact society. I mean, that is what we are looking at when you have a press secretary on day one is willing to come out and say something that is so not only a lie, but it is so easy to prove that it is a lie. And he doesn't care, and Donald Trump doesn't care. They just keep moving. They just punch and move, punch and move. That's all they know how to do. And so now we exist in this world in which I guess we're not supposed to care about that kind of stuff. I don't know. For the Donald Trump supporters who are in here, okay, if you found out that Donald Trump's press secretary lied to you when he said that more people attended Donald Trump's inauguration than any other president before him, does that bother you? Is that something that bothers you? Or do you think that I'm lying and that the press secretary is telling the truth? What do you think? Trump supporter. Okay, great. Yeah, tell me. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not trying to be an asshole here. Like, I want to talk to people. How can you keep your insurance or you will save 20? Yeah, no. For anybody who wants to point out the times in which Barack Obama said something that proved to be not true, that is totally acceptable. You have to tell me is the truth important to you? If you want to point out the times in which Barack Obama didn't live up to the truth, that's fair. That's totally fair. But I'm asking you, is the truth important to you? Because if it is, you have to tell me how you are swallowing Donald Trump and Donald Trump's press secretary when they say things like Donald Trump had more people attend his inauguration than any president before him. I need to know what you think about that. Okay, and by the way, Barack Obama saying that you can keep your insurance, that was a prediction that proved to be false. And it shows why Obamacare is under attack right now. Obamacare is taking its licks in part because a lot of the prediction that the Obama administration came out with about how Obamacare was essentially going to react to the market, that proved to be not the case. And so, you know, it's very different to make a prediction about how your bill is going to be hitting the market. That's very different than just walking up to a microphone and saying something that you yourself know is a lie. Take a lie, replace it with more lies. The Sean Spicer hashtag is very funny read. Ooh, I should definitely check that out. As a Trump guy, I wouldn't have made an issue. Hey, thank you. That would have been great. I don't understand why Sean Spicer feels the need to stand. I mean, look, if Sean Spicer got up to the microphone and said, hey, by the way, when Barack Obama was elected president for the first time, that was the first time in the history of the United States that we had somebody that wasn't a white male be elected to president. So is it any wonder that Barack Obama got more people at his inauguration than Donald Trump? If he said that, I would take off my hat and I would bow to that man. I would say, great, that's perfect. That's the right answer. But this insistence on, like, I don't know, just like giving us 2 middle fingers, just a big fuck you. Just a big fuck you. What? Oh, you think Barack Obama had more people at his inauguration? You're wrong. This is the press secretary for the President of the United States of America. This is the kind of behavior that we expect to come out of Cuba. This is the kind of behavior that we expect to come out of Venezuela. I would expect Hugo Chavez, I would expect his press secretary to step up to a microphone and say something that is so easily refutable, something that you can Google, something where you can Google and be like, oh, that's a lie. That's what I would expect from a third world dictator. And yet now this is quickly becoming the standard for the President of the United States. It's troubling. It is troubling. My sister works at America Express. Their stocks jumped $20 a scare since Trump. What? I'm sorry, Cully, I can't really follow that. American Express stocks jumped because of Trump? Scare. I can't follow that one, buddy. The stocks jumped. There was a stock scare? Yes, I'm going to check that out. I'm going to definitely check out that Twitter hashtag. Thank you for that recommendation. Do you think he will keep tweeting on both accounts? I mean, I suppose he will. Here's the thing. If you want to get Donald Trump to do something, tell Donald Trump not to do that. I mean, he does have a petulant, childish streak where if anybody says, oh, well, now that he's president, he's certainly not going to tweet from his personal account anymore, right? That is a surefire way to guarantee that Donald Trump is going to do that. Because if there's one thing that Donald Trump hates is to be told what to do. It is kind of like a child. It really is. I mean, the man is my president at this point. The gloves are off. Like, I'm not going to be polite to this man. Trump could do whatever he wants. He's super rich. Well, he's also the president of the United States. I'm not sure his wealth is really where his power comes from anymore, but, you know. Dude, we were lied to daily for 8 years and you didn't complain. Sir, if you wanted to come in here and talk about those particular lies, we could talk about that. I think the idea that we were lied to daily on even a comparable level to what Donald Trump is dishing out to us, that is a false equivalency. That doesn't hold water with me anymore. This idea that like, oh, well, Obama lies and Hillary Clinton lies. No, I am asking, what do you think about this? This very particular instance that we are looking at right now. Yes or no? Thumbs up or thumbs down? This idea that like, oh, all politicians lie, so I'm just not really going to care if my president lies to me. I'm sorry. That the kind of lying that Donald Trump is doing is insulting. It is insulting to anyone that he expects people to believe that there were more people at his inauguration than any before. That is so different than the kind of lying we are used to from Washington. That is so dramatically different. That is creating an alternative reality. That is creating a separate reality. This is what is very scary. This is what I'm troubled by. Okay? There is now the truth as it is presented by the likes of Breitbart News, and then there is the truth that basically everybody else is looking at. And guess which one Donald Trump is subscribing to? I mean, we have to draw a line in the sand and say you are either willing to cross this line or you are willing to reject it. And for people who are Trump supporters, I'm not saying like you have to start fighting for his impeachment because his press secretary said that there were more people at his inauguration than there really were. Okay, I'm not saying like, look, you have to throw away Donald Trump. He's no longer your candidate. That is not what I am saying. But you gotta start being honest with yourself. You really have to. You can't, no longer can you say that Hillary Clinton is worse. You have to say to yourself, do you think that it is okay for Donald Trump and his press secretary to lie to you or not? This is important stuff. This is, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but this is the United States and its democracy that we are fighting for. Okay, if we allow a new standard, in which a press secretary can get up on a microphone and say whatever he wants and have absolutely no consequences and nobody will in any way, shape or form expect him to tell the truth or hold him accountable for his words, we have entered a new, very dark period in the United States. And I refuse to accept that's just the new reality. I'm going to fight that tooth and nail. I'm going to basically let my phone die, and maybe later today, because I think we have some good conversation going here, maybe later today I will charge my phone up and try to do this again. But if I cut out, that's why. I'm just going to let my phone die at this point. But I appreciate the Trump supporters that are in here that are trying to sort this stuff out. I really do. The gentleman who, I don't know, he has sunglasses on in his picture. I really do thank you for coming in here and talking with me. It's important that I hear from people that have different opinions than me. I hate echo chambers. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Roger. I hate echo chambers. Now, I'm treating you with kid gloves, but I want you to know that that is because I respect where you're coming from. Okay? I'm going to be an asshole. I'm going to basically be shoving stuff in people's faces, but it's because I respect you, okay? I want to be able to trade ideas here with people. I think it's really important. I don't want this to become an anti-Trump scope. I don't want that to be the case. I want this, obviously I'm coming from an anti-Trump perspective, but I want this to be a politics scope. This is not an anti-Trump scope. We on the right see the lies from Obama and the hypocrisy. Well, hey, Roger, I got to tell you, anytime somebody is willing to point out a time in which Obama, Al Franken, anybody on the left, if they lie, you can certainly bring it up, and I would love to talk about that with you. But Obama is not president anymore. Obama did not lie daily, at least the type of lies that we are seeing coming out of Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, but this idea that Democrats do it too, shrug your shoulders, that's not going to impress me when we are talking about the way in which I expect the President of the United States to be held accountable for his words. He just said there were no terrorist attacks. Who said he said there were no terrorist attacks? Obama said there were no terrorist attacks? I did not hear that. Under his watch? Well, that's interesting. I would look that up. There were no major domestic terrorist attacks under his watch from a foreign government, I suppose, from a foreign power. You're really playing with semantics when it really comes down to what do you define as a terrorist attack. I'd have to look into that, Roger. But you also have to recognize, Roger, that terrorist attacks and whether there were terrorist attacks, and that has been a political football since I was a child. So, the back and forth that always exists between terrorist attacks, that's very different than coming on a microphone and saying something that I can Google in 5 seconds and prove that it was a false statement. Those are very different things. Falcons are kicking butt. Yeah. Are they beating Green Bay? I'm happy with that. Falcons look great. Hey, Celery's here. Hi, Celery. Hey, dude. Celery, you're a looker yourself. I caught a few of your scopes. I know what you look like now. I can throw that hot stuff right back at you. Google is manipulated. Oh, come on now. Come on now. Okay, there are ways to find facts, okay? And if you want to tell me that Google is manipulated, that's fine. If you want to tell me that Donald Trump had more people at his inauguration than any president before him, then again, I'm just going to say, you are living in your own reality. You and me, we do not exist in the same reality. I'm not even going to be so arrogant to tell you that my reality is the true one. I think it is. I think I exist in the real world, and that you are choosing to exist in a bubble that is being constructed by the alt-right media. That's what I think. Okay? But you're right. We're not, if you honestly think that Donald Trump had more people at his inauguration than any other before it, then again, we're not going to see eye to eye. Maybe it's because I am wrong. Maybe it's because you're wrong. One of us is wrong. One of us is wrong. You nail it right in the head when you said that's what dictators do. Yes, this is what dictators do. I'm sorry. Dictators don't think that they abide by the laws of the world, including the laws of reality and truth. They construct narratives that fit whatever story they want to tell. This is what happens. People think of dictators and they immediately think, you know, Stalin and Hitler and things like that. People forget Hugo Chavez is a dictator. Okay, Fidel Castro is a dictator. Dictators don't necessarily have to be the worst evil people on the planet, but they have some things in common. They don't think the rules apply to them. Do you think that that applies to Donald Trump? Absolutely it does. Looks cold on the Mississippi today. Yeah, it's a pretty frigid day out there. No lie. It's not a great day to be in Minnesota. Who the fuck cares how many went? He still lied about it. Right. That's the thing. I'm not saying that I would have come on this Periscope and made a stink at all about how many people attended his inauguration. That's Donald Trump that is deciding to make that an issue. Like I said, if somebody wanted to say, hey, when the first black man to be elected president gets record numbers, doesn't that kind of make sense? When somebody breaks a record like that, wouldn't you expect his inauguration to be a little bit bigger deal than Bill Clinton, than George Bush? I would say, yeah, absolutely. And when you go back to electing another white man like Donald Trump, you're right. The inauguration is not going to be that big of a deal. I would not have made one peep about the inauguration. But it's the fact that his press secretary is willing to lie about it. What else is he going to lie to us about? You mad? Okay. I love that. I love when people are like, hey, you know that thing that you are like completely justified in yelling about and being angry about because it is a horrible thing that somebody did, and I don't really have an argument against it. I don't really have a way to talk around it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to sort of tease you for being mad because I certainly don't have an argument. All right. I guess that's a way to conduct yourself in a Periscope, I suppose.